ses frères ennemis en quelque sorte.
6 days after opening the door for Great Britain in the Tri-Nations, the Kiwis must now turn up and get their game back into order if they're to make a chance to make the grand final. Their fate, though, rests in the hands of Great Britain and also Australia, who play live tomorrow morning. It's on Sky Sport. The equation not that difficult. So today, live from Toulouse, New Zealand front a French team well beaten by the Kangaroos a week ago and unafraid to mix it with anybody in the rugby league world. It's France, New Zealand, live on Sky Sport. International Rugby League is back on the tube, and this time it's New Zealand against France from Toulouse, an international friendly, some might say, but this one's been given a full cap. Stephen Mackay, my good compadre Peter Ropati in for this one. Big day for Brian McLennan, really, because you've got to get his boys back into gear and hope that the Great Britain don't win by, I think it's about 8 or more to knock them out of the Tri-Nations.
Well, the most important thing is to remember you often say that you're as good as your last game. What we saw 7 days ago does not reflect what this footy side is. Some are perhaps a little off the mark when they come out with big comments or headlines suggesting that Brian McLennan is under a huge amount of pressure. He's under none. Last week his team failed to perform. They were ordinary. They know it. Now they get the chance. They just hope that they get back into the final.
Stacey Jones once again back in the black and white as the national anthems ring out at the Stade Ernest Rollin. It's New Zealand versus France live. Ruben Wiki leading the Kiwis in this international. 11 players backing up from that, some might say, gut-wrenching, unbelievable loss to the Lions last week. And they're certainly going to have to put their cards on the table if they want to even be a chance of making the Tri-Nations final. Here's the French national anthem. (44-12), France beaten by the Kangaroos last weekend. They turned up to play. They weren't disgraced by any stretch of the imagination. And now they'll have to face one of the greatest challenges in the world sport. That, of course, being the haka.
Live until
What
no shortage of feeling in the haka, led by skipper Ruben Wiki. As we look at the team list now, you'll note too, no sign of Stacey Jones. The call this morning from Peter Ropati and the big dog, Jason Costigan.
Thank you, Stephen. Good morning, everybody. Yes, Montu Tony to start this one in the 14 jumper in the halves, alongside, you got it, David Solomona. So it's a makeshift halves pairing for the Kiwis for this, well, as Stephen did say, so-called friendly, but I'm sure in the back of the mind they are hoping to get through this one and, of course, power on to that final if the rugby league gods are with the Kiwis over the course of this week. This game, of course, in Toulouse, in the southwest of France, as we have a look at the host side, and a couple of familiar names there, of course, in Rinaldi, the halfback and captain. Freycinet, you might recall, played at Ericsson 4.5 years ago when the French team last toured down under. So all is set here in Toulouse, southwestern France. And the Kiwis running from left to right on screen. Brent Webb, who was under an injury cloud coming into this one, he does start the game. And English referee Carl Kirkpatrick is the man in charge here this morning.
Right, fellas, watch the line at the kick. Stay tidy down there.
Kirkpatrick signals we're underway, and it will be France receiving with first use of the football here. Peter Party alongside myself this morning for this one. Coming to you from the pink city of Toulouse, fourth largest city in France and the rugby league heartland in that country, if you like. And the French chasing their first win against New Zealand in 25 years. So really against the odds here this morning as Regun goes to ground on the 20-metre line here. And they're going to go to their halfback and playmaker, Rinaldi, and he can get the job done. He looks to find touch here, but look at this. Brent Webb, who's been one of the real standouts for the Kiwis at the back end of this season, he takes it cleanly at the back there, and New Zealand now will bring it away up towards the 40-metre line. They keep it alive here, and in fact, they forced a mistake, France, so that's good stuff from the home side. And a mistake here from New Zealand that Brian McLennan would not be happy about.
Well, it's a start that perhaps sees a continuation of what we saw last week up against Great Britain. What became so evident as the game progressed was the need to find some go forward. It's about tightening up in the middle of the football field, doing the simple stuff. But if success is going to come to France, it's going to come on the back of the defensive game.
This is Innes.
Hold the line.
And he goes to ground. France now looking to use their forwards.
Two surrender.
Molly, the loose forward of Lockwood, take the pick as we see him here at a dummy half now. Beckesen and France, they're keeping it alive. Carrasco.
Clear! Come on, Ali! Ali!
Across to Jerome Guisset, one of the real senior statesmen of French Rugby League. Here's some second phase from the home side. This is interesting. This is good stuff. Regun now goes to ground. Smothering tackle over the top from the Kiwis, courtesy of Frank Pritchard. And here's a penalty to the French, right in front of the sticks or thereabouts. Kirkpatrick penalising New Zealand, and a gift 2 points possibly coming up here for France.
And you'd expect the French to look to take the 2 points when it's on offer. Don't underestimate the French. What we've seen over the years is a nation that are very, very good, and they've done quite the opposite, very confident, obviously, in their own ability. But this is a football side, a nation that, as they get a little bit more involved in playing Super League and English football, a lot more experience coming their way.
So the French now using their forwards as battering rams and really looking for the 4 points, possibly the 6 here. Kiwis call for a knock on. Kirkpatrick says play the ball. That's exactly what France have been ordered to do. They go across now to Rinaldi at first receiver. And look at this, France with the opening try. Can you believe it? Carrasco with the 4-pointer. A shock start here in Toulouse. A shock scoreline. France will play from in front.
A shock scoreline, but it's certainly not outside of their reach. A football side that thrives on confidence, that if they get the start that they want, they become extremely difficult to pin back. Always had class in the halves. The number 7, they're finding a back rower, just hitting the right line, short gap, 1 metre off the line. You're never going to find it an easy stop. Lovely ball, great line.
Well, we spoke about Rinaldi. He's the captain, the playmaker, the halfback from the Les Catalans club, of course, the club that Stacey Jones will link up with in 2006 in the European Super League. And so there is a sprinkling from this club based in Toulouse.
Surprise, Costa, that only 3 of the starting side come from Catalan. Catalan is by far the best team over there in French Rugby League. Only 3 made the starting lineup, 3 coming off the bench. It just reinforces the quality of what they've got spread right across a lot of the players involved in English Rugby League.
In fact, I beg your pardon, the team will in fact be based, of course, in Perpignan, which is where the Aussies cleaned up France last weekend. 44-12 in that one.
And the influence of Johnny Wilkinson coming to the fore again.
France now looking to pick up the extras, and that's exactly what they do. Conversion successful by Laurent Freycinet, also from the Les Catalans club. So France leading the Kiwis, believe it or not, 6-0, early days in Toulouse.
Tidy up, fellas. Come
Early
on,
days and
tidy
go back
up.
to the mistake.
Tidy
The
up.
drop ball, trying to force the offload.
Line, boys.
The French have seized the opportunity and made it well worth their while.
We are back underway off the boot of Brent Webb. So some food for thought here for New Zealand, and their coach Brian McLennan, of course, still coming to terms with the horror show they put on against Great Britain last weekend in Huddersfield, the birthplace of rugby league, of course, and New Zealand now looking to find their way into this match. This is a very positive and promising start by the French. And as Peter touched on a moment ago, of course, you cast your mind back over the years, they've had some real near misses against the Kiwis. 1995 comes to mind in Palmerston North, 16-all. I'm sure the people of Manawatu have not forgotten, of course, last year. Ali Lauatiti getting the Kiwis out of jail in the corresponding match, as we see a mistake here from the French.
And dreams often come true in sport. We saw it the other night with Australia up against Uruguay. The French, they don't see success too often, but they have been over years, been extremely competitive. Being able to force the error here. Bronson Harrison on debut. Good to see the youngster get a crack. He's had a wonderful year of the Tigers. Unfortunately not being part of that grand final makeup.
And a mistake on tackle 1. Solomona, the makeshift pivot, and the headgear you can't miss. Getting the pass from Motu Tony, and at this level you're expected to catch that.
Well, everyone sort of looked at the selection of Dave Solomona, and we all recognise an extremely talented, skillful individual, whether it be with a cricket ball, volleyball or rugby league ball. It's quite ironic that you come up with a play like that when you can do anything with the ball in hand.
So the Kiwis have only had a couple of touches and they've had a couple of errors. So really New Zealand, they are still asleep, you would think here. Haven't switched on yet. 6.5 minutes gone. And France working their way upfield through Guisset.
And doing it well, Jason, as well, being able to find them just 1-2 wide of the ruck, finding runners, coming at depth, just hitting the line. If nothing else, they're going forward right now.
And going forward through Ferriol from the Lemieux club. Looking for a quick play of the ball, France. Rinaldi scheming as always. And the ricochet accepted by Christophe Molive from the Carcassonne club. He'll play it back here on the last. And Rinaldi will put it in towards the in goal. Brent Webb watches it ever so carefully. And look at the chase from France. Looking to jam Fatawera in the corner, but Fatawera, who has been really outstanding for New Zealand in many respects in this international program, he did well there to get back to the 20-metre line. And now Clinton Torpey, he goes to ground.
And raised a lot of eyebrows last week, the non-selection of Paul Fatawera. He was missed defensively out there, one of the best. An offensive game that often goes under the radar, but no one can question his ability in being able to tighten up the midfield. Dave Solomona.
Solomona thought about slipping the pass. Look at this. He sucks in a couple of defenders. The pass goes to ground. Torpey picks up the scraps. And now Bronson Harrison, the rookie, the new kid on the block. Of course, lamenting what could have been with the West Tigers. Did not get a start, as Peter says, of course, in the Premiership. The fairy tale Premiership at that. Now France with their winger, Olivier Charles, sending it on to Ennis, the custodian. Here's a mistake. Here's a gift. Torpey does not panic. He takes the tackle, and here's the penalty. Kirkpatrick penalising the French there. And really, they had no option. They'll take the tap here, surely, New Zealand. Fayumu hands it on. Paliasina, some second phase. Motu Tony, Ruben Wiki, the captain now. He goes to ground. Had some surgery on his honker, if you like, or his nose coming into this one. The big man. Now, speaking of big men, New Zealand using their forwards once more. Pritchard, do they come much bigger? Fayumu, a dummy half. The French camped on their own goal line. Motu Tony looking to set up the try, and that's exactly what he does. Mr. Effective gets across the line. Paliacina with the try. There's the reply.
Yeah, there's a sense in this game already that perhaps the Kiwis are still trying to find their groove to get into it. Yeah, at times looking a little hesitant, but there's no doubting that when you have the likes of Ifeaki Paliacina, Ali Lautiti 1 metre off the line up against their French counterparts, providing they've got some momentum behind them, it's going to be very, very difficult when you put the likes of Rinaldi. So far been impressed with the little number 7. This is a big ask of the little scrum half to try and take down one of the biggest front rows in the game of rugby league.
Peter, you've been watching international rugby league for a long time. You played in the UK, Papua New Guinea, Australia, of course, here in New Zealand. You talk about the French halves. Patrick Ontar, Gilles Dumas, they have had some playmakers that have had ability.
They've had some wonderful players over there. And you go back 15-odd years, and the likes of Ontar and Dumas playing in the English game. They've also brought on a lot of back rowers, and we've already seen one this morning score a try. So there's no shortage. They just haven't had the quality right throughout from their squad 1 to 17. But there's no doubting, 6 and 7 back rowers. Even in the centres, they've come up with the odd player. There's a couple that have played their time in Wigan as well.
Motu Tony adds the extras. It's 6-all as we watch the replay. The try, all thanks to this mistake from the fullback, Adam Innes.
And it's instances like that that are always going to make it difficult for a side that are playing a huge amount of passion to try and get over. Their game has to be about minimal errors and being able to seize on opportunities that the Kiwis are going to present if the French are going to be in it. But right now I sense that with the Kiwis still struggling to find their game completely, but starting to get some sense of, OK, let's get this going.
So Rinaldi will put it back here on the tee to get us back underway. Here we go into the next chapter of this one. Pritchard with the catch and straight away says, I'll do my best here. He gets it up to the 20-metre line. And Brent Webb comes into acting half there to serve up the pass for his captain, Ruben Wiki. What a record-breaking representative season he has enjoyed. Look at this. They're rushing up on Solomona, looking to put some pressure on the big man, but Bronson Harrison making a good fist of proceedings here.
And it's all good to rush. They've got to get in there and close it down, but they've got to be very aware. If you get the pass on the outside of that umbrella coming up, they'll be in all sorts of bother.
Big clash of the number 8s. Get out of my way, said Paliacina to Ferriol. And now Fayumu, there's the step. They love that down in Wainui-Yamata. He keeps it alive, and look out. Lower Titi getting involved here. Some razzle-dazzle, then a mistake just like that. So France come up with possession here. And their wingman will settle things down once more. Charles from the Villeneuve club. He gets up and plays it back. France here, crossing the halfway line into enemy territory. 3-man Kiwi tackle, Motu Tony, Ruben Wiki and Ali Lauatiti. They all peel off. We've been going 11.5 minutes here in Toulouse. 6 play 6. France getting the opening try through Carrasco. Freycinet with the conversion, then the reply from Paliacina, the kick from Motu Tony. France now going wide. Their centre 3-quarter, Jerome Hermé. He goes to ground. The French now working through Reguin, second row forward. And the last has been signalled. Freycinet with the kick, looking to put some pressure at the back here on Webster. And this is good stuff from the home side. They will get 6 more.
Liking what the French are doing at the moment. There's certainly no frills about what they're doing. You've got the likes of John Modi at the helm. So it's trying to do the simple stuff. Perhaps not as quickly as you'd like. They find distance or width in their game. They're getting up quick defensively. Good opportunity here on Webster to be able to cap him, and then they get the repeat set of 6. Just doing the simple stuff. Unfortunately, coming up with a couple of errors that the Kiwis have seized on.
And just on John Money, of course, he guided the French to victory in the European Nations Cup recently. 38-16, they got the result there against Wales. And, of course, he was at the helm last week in Perpignan against the Kangaroos. So France now with Ferriol on tackle number 1, 12.5 gone, 6 play 6, centre of the ground. Bertha Zenig sets it up now for Guisset. Again, 3 in the tackle.
He's a tidy number 9, this Bertha. He just keeps it nice and clean around the ruck. He's bringing on his forwards well. He's looking for some good service out the acting half. There's always a sense of looking, what's coming.
Rinaldi at first receiver, as you'd expect, looking for runners. He comes to his fullback here in Ennis. He takes the tackle, and a good smothering one at that. Clinton Torpey, though, he was all over him like a rash, and the penalty has been awarded.
You've got him on the floor and you're working your way around him. It's only Donovan if I shout it.
There's the explanation from Carl Kirkpatrick, a man who has certainly been around in the English Super League for some time. Of course, if you watch the games regularly on Sky Sport, you would be used to his interpretation of the rules, English style, as we see France now looking to keep the pressure on with Ferriol. Look at the ball runners. They've got some support here, France. Tackle one, and they're only about 8 metres out. The French with their loose forward, Molly, and now chiming in, Ennis. He goes to ground, couple of metres out. Kiwis on their own goal line. Some testing times here, not for the first time in this one either. Christophe Molly, he goes to ground once more, the Carcassonne loose forward. Freycinet, standoff, 5'8" for France. Plays it back, and now the hooker, Berthazzeni, he goes to ground, stealing a metre or two. Wiki was there to shut him down. Here comes the last. Rinaldi calls for it. He gets it. He tries to thread the needle, and look at that. Brent Webb, he saves the day for the Kiwis.
Rinaldi, he's got it on his shoestring, this kid. He knows exactly where he's going.
Heart attack stuff for Brian McLennan. Brent Webb just got there in the nick of time.
We're seeing some wonderful scrambling D. We saw it last week, Manu Vatuvei coming in the end goal area and just being able to recover. This time, Brent Webb doing well, and he's had a wonderful tournament. It's coming on near on 6 weeks for some of these players that they've been away or been involved. And he's had a wonderful series. But the French, there's a sense about their game of footy, which is about 20 years ago. The style that they're playing, nothing flash, not as classy or as direct as, say, good second-man decoy plays, but they're doing the simple stuff. They're doing it good.
Peter, of course, in stark contrast to the fabulous French of the 50s, and it is good to see here encouraging signs for International Rugby League as France, they look very, very composed in possession here. Of course, the big test will come when they have to roll up the sleeves, but at the moment, they've got the pill, they've got the field position, and they've got some movement here happening out wide. This is razzle-dazzle now from France. Encouraging stuff here as Seydoux goes to ground. France now, again looking for ball runners. Guisset, the big unit, out the back door, he slips it. Rinaldi comes up with an error. In fact, it's being knocked down by the Kiwis. More possession coming up for France, more pressure on the Kiwis.
Well, if anyone ever doubted what the French were going to do again, that man Rinaldi involved there and clearly knocked down there by Dave Solomona. Some more possession for the French side. And they'll be enjoying this, but at the same time, they'll be recognising they need to be able to find some points. They've been up here so long.
Seydoux looking to slip them, and he goes to ground about 5 metres out. Rinaldi hands it on to Molly. He attracts a couple of in defence there. Look at them. They repel him big time. Excellent work on the part of Paliacina. Rinaldi goes across to his 5'8", Freycinet. France now with their centre three-quarter. Hermé, he goes to ground. Over the top for New Zealand on that occasion was the captain, Ruben Wiki. 10 metres out, France. Let's see what they've got here. Looking for runners once more. And it is Jerome Guisset going to ground. And another penalty here against the Kiwis.
Get your hands all over the ball. This guy here. Get your hands all over the ball.
A glut of possession here for France. I don't think they're going to have the shot at goal. Looking to keep the pressure on. They want tries. They want them now. And now surging towards the goal line. Guisset. It takes almost a battalion to stop him.
Guisset's played strong, and this is perhaps not too dissimilar again against Great Britain. The penalty count in the first 40 going well and truly against the Kiwis.
Just Carl Kirkpatrick there ordering the play, if you like, of the play of the ball. He had to come back to the 10-metre line. Rinaldi now goes across to Molly, and now big hit there on Hermé. He goes to ground, the French centre three-quarter.
Have a look at where Rinaldi, the halfback, stands. Every time he gets the ball, he's deep. He determines the line. They go wide. Guisset again hits it up.
In fact, it's Ferriol, and Ferriol goes through some very lacklustre defence, paper-thin defence. They were clutching at thin air. I can't quite believe it. France have regained the lead as easy as you like.
Ferriol rated one of the best in the game of rugby league over there. Certainly one of the leading French forwards, just pushes off likes of Ifeke Paliasina. But just heading into the line. And again, the French, with all the possession going their way, one could say that it was only a matter of time that if they were any chance of being in this game and being competitive, they needed to turn it into points.
Well, they've got 4, possibly another couple coming up here for Freycinet, who's going to take this one. Pretty handy customer when it comes to raising the flags as he gets some refreshments here. Not the biggest crowd you would have thought for a game that attracted a healthy crowd last week in Perpignan, something like 10,000 for the visit by the Kangaroos. But this is quite incredible here. New Zealand seemingly, Peter, lacking intensity and just producing
Well, if you're
a
looking
performance that really echoes what we saw last week at Huddersfield.
Well, if you're looking for an upside, if there is one, it's recognising that perhaps all the French points are coming on the back of when they've got the ball, they've got all the momentum, they've got all the possession. Then on the other side, it's a continuation of what we saw 7 days ago, and that's about coming up with penalties, coming up with mistakes, and they're doing it hard.
Freycinet, straight over, she goes, flags are up, there's another 2. France, they lead New Zealand in Toulouse, 12 points to 6. So far, so good for John Money and the French.
And you would imagine right now, all the punters who have opted not to come back for the second game, they'll be listening to the wireless and they'll be all looking for the motor car keys right now. It's often the way when a small crowd turns out that something special can unfold. The French, they're full of confidence. A lot of running in their legs.
The French tonight, rank outsiders, of course, coming into this one, although, as we say, they have shown the ability to really test the top teams last season. For example, they took on the Kangaroos and Australia led only by 4, 34-30 it was, with 7 to go. The big question, of course, will come when they're asked to defend. At the moment, they have got possession. 20 minutes gone here, Peter, and so far so good for John Money, as I say.
Historically, sides who are less fancied, who perhaps don't have the quality of class in their side, more often compete and can hang in there for 25, 30 minutes. It's whether or not you can do it for 80. But there's enough about what we've seen so far, and with the scoreline they've got at the moment, they will grow. Ronaldo's being absolutely superb and being able to push this field around the team. His ball delivery, his selection of his passing, and where he's receiving the ball behind the ruck here, outstanding.
Jake Webster plays it back for Brent Webb, and now heading it up for the Kiwis is Chantain Hape, former Warrior, of course, been plying his trade in the UK with Bradford in more recent times. And look at this!
There was nobody on you. I shouted play on.
Harpy's been penalised for an incorrect play of the ball. He shakes the head in disbelief. Brian McLennan, he must be jumping off the grandstand in Toulouse.
Well, that's the second call, Jason, that you got to question. I don't quite understand it. But one thing's for certain, you just got to learn to live with it and get on with it.
And Harpy should know better. He must know the British style of refereeing. Again, Kirkpatrick, he was very emphatic about it as we watched the replay. Well, tackle in the eyes of Carl Kirkpatrick, that's what counts here. And what counts is that France have got the ball.
And unfortunately, that's what you get in the north of England. It is again, the French look to unweave.
Freycinet posing some questions. France now growing in confidence, and look at this, their centre three-quarter. Sadou, he's only about 5 metres out. They miss out one. They come across to their hooker in Berthezini, and look at this, a run around. Rinaldi's involved, so too Guisset, the big unit again, slipping it out the back door, the hooker. He has a dart. Berthezini, a couple of metres out, right in front of the big goal post pads, I beg your pardon. Freycinet on the inside, there's the knock on, and France now, finally, they turn it over.
There's a spring in the step of the French. You saw that play there where they all got into dummy half. They were all queuing up to have a crack.
Tight heads, fellas. Tidy scrums, tight heads, Jerry. Heads in, boys. Heads in.
So New Zealand here with the put in with Motu Tony. Stacey Jones repeating the news. If you joined us late, not starting this game tonight. Motu Tony incidentally made his test debut against France when they came down under 4.5 years ago. 36 blot was the score for you trivia buffs. It was Gary Freeman's first Test match as Kiwi coach, of course, and Motu Tony, he made every poster winner that night for New Zealand, and he's looking to back it up here against the French.
And back it up, if you want to get back into this game, is just get back to doing some simple stuff, as Bronson Harrison is doing right now. Look to get some carries under your belt, get to your kick, get down the other end and defend.
Harrison, he took a buffeting for his troubles as the Kiwis now pump it downtown, the southern end of this ground here in Toulouse. And the chase is quite good, very sound, so France now, pressure on them to get back in numbers. Pulatua claims there's been a knock-on, a fumble of sorts there, but his plea goes through the ears of referee Carl Kirkpatrick. He was not interested one iota.
And I don't think Tony Pulatua should be interested either. It should be right now about getting into this game and allowing the guy in the middle, Kirkpatrick, to do what he's doing.
You saw a hit up there from Fakir, the interchange forward for France. So John Money working his interchange bench as well, alongside Brian McLennan. Pulatua on, Fakir on for France as Brent Webb now probes for a hole. There is nothing forthcoming. Leading the chase for the French, Christophe Molly. And now looking to bullock his way up the park, the Melbourne storm winger, Jake Webster. Melbourne-born, Queensland bred, as Harpy makes a big yardage gain there for the Kiwis. Much better from Chantain Harper. And look at this, Solomona looking to bust them straight up Main Street. 12 plays 6, France. Leading by a converted try. Stacey Jones on the park, looking to get the job done. He is chopped down by Fakir. The fresh man, he has to be penalised. No penalty forthcoming. I can't believe that. And now Kedwell looking to pop the ball out the back door. Look at Stacey Jones. Well, talk about a delayed call there. Playing advantage big time. There was none, hence the penalty has been awarded.
I think David Kedwell coming out the acting half. Exactly what Motu Tony's got.
Motu Tony wants to pinch 4 points. Catching everyone by surprise, well, almost. And now looking for the barge over from dummy half Pulatua. He's shut down. 2 tackles gone. Battle stations here for France. Kedwell with the step, Kedwell with the try. David Kedwell, he's only been on the park a couple of minutes. And David Kedwell has scored New Zealand's try from close range. And in a moment or two, we should be locked up at 12 apiece.
And after a little bit of confusion, not only with the referee, but the players as well, David Kedwell, he got his chance coming out of the acting half. He was looking to ref the game.
Well, did he get it down?
Well, I think...
Well, what do you think?
There's no doubt the ball comes down. He's got it under his hand and he just slams it on the ground. There's a try for you. Jeez.
This is the replay. Well, geez, this could be geez if it's John Money watching. And he's lost the ball. He's lost the ball and the French have been robbed.
Sacre bleu, I hear John Money say. You better now?
I am. Well, we'll hear more about that at the conclusion of this game. Stacey Jones has raised the flags. Couldn't get the job done in that department last week, but tonight, first shot is successful. We are again locked up. 12 plays 12 in Toulouse.
And that all on the back of some simple stuff. And as you put it, going down Main Street, it started with Bronson Harrison in the inside 20. Dave Solomona had a crack. David Kedwell got in there. Rinaldi there perhaps a little disappointed, and he may have a case to answer when you talk about the fact that maybe Kedwell didn't get it down. But
case to answer?
They'll be back.
You are kidding, Peter. He has lost the ball there, and you get the impression there must not be any video ref. It's all fish and chip paper at the moment, though. We're back on, and it's even Stevens. Look at Kedwell.
And expect a little bit more of that as well. Expect Tony Pulatua to front up next and just keep finding the simple stuff in the middle.
Jake Webster with a settler. He plays it back to Harpy. He serves up the pass for Solomona. Now Pulatua looking to punch a hole in the French defence. And that's a good carry, a fine carry, 5 short of halfway. Motu Tony, who's moved into the hooking role with Stacey Jones coming onto the park. And Fayumu, of course, getting the spell. Playing it back there, Louis Anderson getting a touch. Stacey Jones shovels it out to Solomona. And the Wakefield Trinity Wildcat, he goes to ground.
The challenge to the French now to respond defensively. They should have plenty of power on their legs. They've enjoyed everything so far.
On the last, the bomb was a good one in the sense that the Kiwis have got it back, but they've come up with an error. Paul Whatuira with the knock-on. Two-time premiership winner, of course, firstly with Penrith, then the West Tigers club. And a soft turnover as it's turned out here. And some changes being affected again by John Monie. Colonni from the Le Catalan club, part of the Catalan connection, if you like, in jersey 14, about to come into the battle. And it's been a good battle at that.
Well, the biggest disappointment for coach Brian McLennan right now has got to be the failure of the Kiwis to be able to build some pressure, to be able to get into their game, look to find some repeat sets. A number of times it's gone wide and it's come unstuck. In that case there, Paul Whatuira putting the ball to ground. And then now perhaps what we've got here is a penalty to France, allowing them to come out even again.
Watch the replay here, and Carl Kirkpatrick penalising for the second effort there, and it was very clear cut on that replay. David Berthesny, the French hooker. As you said, Peter, his ball distribution skills have been 5 stars so far in this one.
He's playing well. The area of concern always going to be in the Northern Hemisphere is going to be the interpretation around the ruck area. And throughout this tournament, we're seeing a little bit more of it again today with Kirkpatrick in charge.
Rinaldi there, he was on a hiding to nothing. Talk about getting a hospital pass, the French captain, but he stuck to his guns. France now with Rinaldi, a dummy half, going across to Colonni. Molly, the lock forward, looking for the gap. Nothing on offer on this occasion. Solomona with support provided by Pritchard. And now putting his foot to the floor, Gretzky from the Pierre Donkeys club. He plays it back. France getting a roll on all of a sudden with these freshmen. Fakir storming towards the goal line. Stacey Jones calling for support in defence. That's exactly where they go. Rinaldi threading the needle once more. He hasn't quite got it on a string on this occasion.
And I just found myself thinking about so many Kiwi boys that are now playing up in France, and in particular Paul Okesini, speaking to his brother Kennedy during the week. Still thoroughly enjoying his time up there in France. It's going to be an odd mix when they all come back for a family reunion this year, with Hydro up in the north of England as Dave Solomona finds a way through.
And he puts the kick through. Well, I'm not sure whether that was the right tactic on tackle one. He made a huge inroad, and really the alarm bells would be ringing now for John Monie. We speak about France rolling up the sleeves in defence. On that occasion, Solomona, he just carved his way through the French line and then put a kick through that really he would have regretted.
Yeah, the Okesini reunion is going to be interesting come Christmas, with Hydro's children with an accent of the north of England and Paul with fluent French under their belt. And then you've got the Samoan flavour back here with a bit of Cook Island going on as well.
That's what I call cosmopolitan.
They'll have fun.
Just over half an hour gone here in Toulouse. Fifth and final has been signalled by Carl Kirkpatrick, and that was a terrible pass for Rinaldi, and it's play on. No knock on. Carl Kirkpatrick says that's okay in my book. So we've seen some contentious calls so far in this one.
And that's the challenge, because they're going to create a huge amount of frustration, some of these guys in the middle. Some calls and you sit there figuring what is doing, but you just got to get on.
Got to remember too, Peter, of course, this is really in many ways a patched up Kiwi side, making no excuses though. Paul Rahihi, Roy Azatazi, players missing left, right and centre as New Zealand now. Loatiti across to Clinton Torpy in a pass that did not have to be thrown. Somehow they maintained possession, but only just. It was very fluky.
And it's not the first occasion. It's every time we've gone to the left-hand side, there seems to be an insistence that there has to be an offload, even if you're operating in half a metre. That time, luckily, they've come up with it. Ali Lautiti now finds a kick in his game.
They were working down that blindside corridor, and in good field position is Ennis, and they shove him back towards the French goal line. Good tackle provided by Clinton Torpy. So the French now needing some willing workers to cut the ball out of their danger zone, if you like. 7.5 minutes away from half-time. And John Monie, he would be rather content, I dare say, the former Warriors coach, former Wigan coach, former Parramatta coach at this stage of the game.
Well, at this stage of the game, they're still in the game, and what I'm looking for out of the Kiwis is starting to play a little bit smarter. What's getting us over the line so far has been the presence of our power game. The French again.
And that's come off Shante, in fact, Jake Webster, I beg your pardon, as we watch the replay, it'll be a French put in here. He did play the ball, Webster, and you can tell from his body language that he knows that 6 more coming up for the home side.
Well, I just heard the booing of the crowd, so it'll be interesting to see what Kirkpatrick is actually called.
Well, I saw the touch judge. There, you watch the touch judge here. He did put the hand out favouring France, and that's exactly which way we're going here. And fair enough, too.
Good on you, Jace.
Ronaldo straight away going to his back line, and in possession here, getting up to play the ball will be Teddy Sedou from the Les Catalans club. He plays it back, and look at this, a lovely ball on the inside there for Felou, and he's been called back here because he took matters into his own hands. He needed to come up with a play the ball, and Kirkpatrick has a blind.
This is crazy. This is the same play that we saw Shante Harpy penalised for, where he wasn't held in the ball ground. Shante took to his feet, played the ball, he got penalised. Here the French player looked to carry on exactly the same, but this time he gets pulled back and pinged.
Frustrating, no doubt, for John Money. So New Zealand here with a perfect opportunity, less than 6 minutes away from half-time. 12 plays, 12 in Toulouse. Stacey Jones back on the inside for Fatawira, the little general. More comebacks, as I said last night at the basketball, than Dame Nelly Melba. He'll be enjoying this one as well. Lower-Titi offloading. Torpy now. He is finished off. 3 in the tackle. They shepherd him towards the sideline. He stays in the field of play. Fatawira serves up the pass. Lower-Titi takes them on. 3 metres out. The Leeds Rhinos, star forward, plays it back. Montutoni, now Stacey Jones at first receiver. Brent Webb injecting himself. Here's a try brewing for Harpy. He'll dot down, and it's the Kiwis now in front in Toulouse. New Zealand finally with some possession, some pressure on France, and the French have cracked.
And pleasing to see that the Kiwis get up this side of the football field and start to construct some play. Coming out of Stacey Jones with 2-man. Shante Harpy, as with everybody else in the black and white here, always going to be difficult to stop when they've got pace. Dave Solomon has seen the gap out wide, and again, questions are raised as to whether or not he had control as he planted that ball down. You've got your fingers shaking at me, you tell me.
Well, you judge for yourself. The end on replay, I think that's fair enough. That's more convincing than what we saw just a few moments ago. What we saw then was ridiculous. They got away with it, and fair enough. On this occasion, it is 4 points, possibly 6 if Jones can land this one.
And the French will be disappointed. The fact that that came on the back of the penalty where the French player got to his feet, looked to continue with play, and he got pulled back. If nothing else, consistency is all anybody playing the game is looking for out of the guys in the middle. But well constructed by the Kiwis. They had depth, and they ran some options. They recognised that the French were short on the right-hand side.
Stacey Jones pushing this one wide, but finally the Kiwis are in front. They lead this one by 4. New Zealand 16, France 12.
And in the back of their minds will be the possibility that if they do get into the final, they've got to be working to prepare themselves for that final. And that's about playing a game that's smart. It's about constructing tries. It's about building pressure and not getting through a game against the French, which relies totally on your power game.
You see Gretzky, fresh man on in jersey 17. And you can tell from the body language here, Julian Rinaldi is in no hurry to get us back underway. He wants half-time, so does the coach. The Kiwis, though, gaining the upper hand, you would think, here in the back end of this first half. David Kidwell on tackle 1 for the Kiwis, the Crisco Kiwis. Live from Toulouse this morning in the southwest of France.
And the Kiwis starting to find a little bit more metres in their running game. The French starting to allow them to come to them. 4 minutes to go. The last thing they want is another try conceded with half-time looming. They've got to find that spring in their defensive line, get up and meet them, shut them down.
Lower-Titi takes them on. Of course, he was the hero in the corresponding game 12 months ago. It was almost embarrassment, if you like, as Stacey Jones goes to the sideline, and it's a fine kick.
So much sharper with Stacey in the number 7 being up. Doing what Rinaldi has done for most of his game for the French. Being able to control, dictate, push the field game around the park.
And just on Stacey Jones, too, I'm sure wife Rochelle will be glued to the tube this morning, and we wish you well, of course, with the pending birth of baby number 3.
Well, I think Rochelle will be sitting there right now wondering, will he come, won't he come? Will he come?
Well, he's expected to come.
Wow.
That's what counts.
So here's hoping, Rochelle. Good luck.
He's apparently on a flight out of Toulouse tomorrow, if not tonight, French time. Getting back to be beside wife Rochelle for the birth. And, well, stay tuned for more, depending on the result tomorrow between Great Britain and Australia. Who knows? And, of course, you'll see that game too live on Sky Sport tomorrow morning, 7:10.
Didn't they play well last week, Great Britain? Yeah, we could turn around and hammer the Kiwis for their performance. But the Great Britain lads, they're outstanding.
They certainly came to life in West Yorkshire against the Kiwis in that one. France now with Rinaldi slipping the pass across to Fekir, Jamal Fekir. He got it out the back door too. Here's the second phase from France that is really catching New Zealand by surprise. Some paper-thin defence again from the Kiwis, and Gresque said thank you very much. In possession now, Ennis. He plays it back. On the last, Rinaldi. Has he got it on a string? Not quite. Look at that fingertip control from Solomona. Good stuff from a big man.
It's hard to read whether or not it was a kick by Rinaldi that just didn't have enough in it, or whether or not it was the skills of Dave Solomona to just reach up and just yank it back in.
Fingertip control in the final minute here of the first half. What's he doing now, Solomona?
That's the unknown with David. He never quite knows himself. He just plays what's in front of him, and sometimes an absolute nightmare. But sometimes the winner.
Biggest margin in this game thus far has been a converted try. It's been a very good contest here in Toulouse this morning as Paul Fatouira goes to ground. 30 seconds away from half-time. Brent Webb now looking for runners. He telegraphs across the ground. He takes the tackle here, and it's the fifth and final for the tourists. Stacey Jones pumping it downtown. It won't pull up in the in goal, just too much on that one. And we probably won't even have time here for the tap restart for France.
The French right-hand D has certainly kept the Kiwis in check. They've moved up quickly. They've been able to force the Kiwis into pushing passes that they perhaps wouldn't want to do. Their defensive game's been in check for most of us. At the moment, they're down 16-12.
There goes the air raid siren in Toulouse. It certainly sounded like one. John Money will have plenty to say. Some encouraging words for his French side, because at half-time, we've got a contest. It's France 12, New Zealand 16. Back with more right after this.
(16-12), and it's the Kiwis leading France by only just the one unconverted try in this friendly at Toulouse this morning. And Pete, you've got to say, if the Kiwis are going to make the final, they're going to have to certainly turn on a better 40 minutes than we've seen already.
Well, there's a real sense that you're sitting back and you're looking at a scoreline, you're waiting for them to fire up. But so far, it's been an ordinary performance. Yeah, we've seen a couple come to the fore. I think Stacey Jones' introduction to the game has certainly given him a little bit more spark. David Kidwell's had some good touch, but can't speak highly enough of the French. At the moment, there's a number of players for them that they're excelling. Yeah,
very good start too. Took only the third minute, and Carasso coming across the line, and of course a lot of this brought up by the little half in Rinaldi.
And a lot of it's on the back of having possession, but this is a wonderful line. I just made the comment there off air that the French, to mine, are playing a footy style that you would have seen 15 odd years ago. There's nothing flash or overly sophisticated about it, but simple. They're shifting it, they're finding players coming at depth, running into the angles, and there was a good start.
9th minute, then Fekir Palacios will get across here. This was on the back of the mistake by Ennis, the fullback. And, well, it's the old story, big man, little man, and close to the line. It's pretty hard to stop.
Yeah, it's a courageous effort there by the halfback, but it's an awfully big assignment to try and take out the Fekir Palacios so close to the line. I'm looking to the Kiwis to construct a little bit more rather than the power game, but they take them when they're on offer. This one here, he just undid him like there was nothing happening. And to come up the big front row's try, that was good stuff.
You have to say some reputations are taking just a little bit of a battering here, Pete, because Ferriol just barged through the likes of Paliacina and Louis Anderson there, and it was one of the simplest tries you will see, and that's not the sort of D you want if you're going to be facing Great Britain, or should I say Australia, in the final, one of those two.
Well, if this game is about getting ready for your next, they're well off the mark. Kidwell there seizes the opportunity. It came on the back of a French mistake.
Didn't score this one, let's be blunt. Did not score this one, but given.
I will concede.
All right, we'll concede on that one, because that was a shocker from Kilpatrick.
Well, Kilpatrick's having a shocker full
Kilpatrick.
stop. Yeah, the number of times he's come up with calls. On one hand, he'll penalise the Kiwis. Then on the second hand, he penalised him for what he was penalising for the first place. Kidwell, yes, no try. And the French are obviously replaying that to reinforce exactly
but
that.
as we say in sport, that's exactly what happens. 35th minute, 5 minutes before, finally construct something. Stacey Jones getting the back line going. Shantae Harvey, although he does get this down a lot cleaner than the Kidwell try, does score, and unconverted by Stacey Jones.
They recognised very quickly that the French were short on their left-hand side. Webby finds some space in that, likes of Dave Solomon. It was a case of catch and pass and then finding the right result at the end of it.
Yeah, I mean, the thing about this, Peter, is that the rugby league is such a simple game, and the Kiwis seem to be making more of it than it really is. And we are seeing a crisp John Mooney coach French side just go through the motions, but simple, clean motions.
Often when you play a side that you expect to win, it often is a lot harder, and I think that's exactly what we've got at the Kiwis at the moment, looking to do stuff which is perhaps a little flashier, looking to push the pass, looking the outside. What they need is to go back to the simple stuff, get it in the middle, go up what Jason refers to as Main Street, get some go forward. Then when you start to get some momentum, build some pressure, then you can dictate and call what you want. But you need them to go back. I want to see a little bit more happening in the middle. That is where the game will have to be played. If they're lucky enough to be part of the final, then they've got to be prepared to go back to what and where they found so much success in the opening 2 games of their Tri-Nations up against Australia.
The fate of the Kiwis rests in the hands of Australia and Great Britain tomorrow from Casey Stadium in Hull. Now, the margin that if Great Britain are to knock out the Kiwis, it'll be 9 points. They'll have to beat Australia by 9 points, or quite alternatively, Australia simply beat Great Britain and the Kiwis will be in the final. Sky Sport 1 tomorrow live at 7:10. It's a big old day when you think the All Blacks are playing tomorrow at 3:30. You can start with that one, get onto the Kiwis, and then join us at the Pacific Event Centre later in the day for the Breakers and the second of the doubleheader against the Wildcats. A lot of footy still to come, of course. There's the final, live from Elland Road in Leeds on Sky Sport 1 at 7:10. Friday the 2nd of the 7th. That, of course, is the same day as the New Zealand Rugby League Awards as well, which is right there. In fact, that is the Rugby League Awards. All right, Saturday morning, we're still half asleep, I'm sure of that. 16-12. 16-12. There we have it. The Kiwis leading France at the moment. Not a lot in this one. Look out on the other side. 16-12, New Zealand lead France at half-time from Toulouse, and not the most inspiring display by the Kiwis in this match that will hopefully warm them up for a Tri-Nations final. Now, I've confused the issue a bit. If Great Britain beat Australia by 9, then Australia are out. I can't see that happening somehow, even though they've dropped Prince and also Price.
Well, I think the changes that they've made to the Kangaroo side could very well find themselves being strengthened. I've been impressed with O'Mealy coming off the bench, and I think in particular Riles, his introduction into the game right throughout the tournament. There's always a sense of change, a little bit more upbeat. They go forward, he finds the offload. And even in the halves, Lockyer and Johns have not been playing well as a combination to get the likes of Barrett and Prince, or even Gower coming into the game, whoever. There is something a little bit more, which is about a little bit more hunger, a little bit more spark. They could prove to be maybe the tourniquet. And for the Great Britain side, they've done well. And let's not forget, they don't have the services of the likes of Sculthorpe and Long. Sculthorpe, to mind, one of the best forwards in the game of rugby league at the moment. So they've done well. They do not have Deacon, who's also been good for them.
Yeah, I think the New Zealand's got caught out by the fact that that workout that they had the English had against the Great Australia the week before the English game was fell them into a trap, because that English side was the English of old that I haven't seen in a long time.
Yeah, Great Britain have played some good football. Yeah, we underestimated the performance up against Australia at Wigan, and with the weather, everybody's suggesting that maybe that kept the scorelines close. But they can create. You know, when you look at Cunningham in the number 9, he is without doubt. Yeah, many might argue it's Buderis, but he's probably equally as good as well and wouldn't be out of place in the NRL. Yeston Harris playing at number 6 played strong. They improved out on the fringe, which is perhaps what kept them in the game.
They're still blowing up, of course, about the Vaughan tackle on Deacon, of which he only got one game, which is this game here, so he'll be available for the final. There are suggestions on the Fox Sport website this morning that he should have at least got 10, and it continues to make a mockery of the international judiciary. But there's the little man, Rinaldi, who has really pushed this side around as we rejoin commentary with Jason Costin and, of course, Peter Rope. A lot of work to do for the Kiwis, Jason.
No doubt about that, Stephen, as we watch New Zealand come out of the tunnel here in Toulouse. France giving their fans plenty to cheer about here this morning.
There are plenty of fans watching around New Zealand, in particular, I believe, over at Waiheke Island. Jason?
Yes, Bob and Margaret, I'm sure they'll be enjoying the second half if what they believe will happen here, because they've got some guests happening over there, I believe, this morning. A huge barbecue, but we'll talk about that perhaps post-match. Let's get back to the
Bob and
footy.
Marg just put the kettle on. Jason will be over there soon after the game.
We're underway. We are underway here in Toulouse. It is game on. And let's see what the Kiwis have got. Oh, cop that, David Kidwell. Rescue has just smashed him from the get-go. What a barnstorming tackle to start the second stanza. And now Fakir has it for France. So if you reckon the Kiwis were pumped up, well, what about the host side?
Well, you can imagine at halftime the talks by the corresponding coaches would have been fueled with a huge amount of emotion. John Mooney suggesting that they are the underdogs. You're in the game, and that's exactly how they responded in the opening stanza.
Here's Fakir, a settler for France, and he is repelled by some very solid and impressive New Zealand defence, which has been the exception to the rule, really, in this game here this morning. France now going across to Molly, the lock forward, and he turns it in. He's inside to his fullback there in Innes. France now, straight up the middle goes Grescu, and he attracts 3 in the tackle, commanding some respect here.
Commanding some respect when you talk about making a contribution. He's done exactly that.
Rinaldi on the last, puts the kick through, some pressure at the back here on Jones. And it's come off France, or has it?
Sace is playing poker at the moment, and he could very well have come up with the trump hand, and he's done exactly that.
It has come off France, and as a result, New Zealand have got it here on the 20-metre line. Opening minutes of the second half. If you joined us late, it was France who got us underway in the opening 5 minutes, and it wasn't until 5 minutes before half-time that the Kiwis hit the front. And a little bit of controversy, of course, in that first 40 with the try to David Kidwell. New Zealand now crossing halfway.
And one person who hasn't joined us late, Peter Courts, the boss man there of New Zealand Rugby League. I'll see him what you need through very, very shortly, Pete. He just texted me.
I'm sure he did. Judging by that description of what's going on with the boss of the New Zealand League, as we see New Zealand here force the mistake, or rather 6 more. Some good pressure applied. Innes had a lot of work to do, and he couldn't get out of jail. An excellent chase there led by the Kiwi winger in Paul Fatuira. So Julien Rinaldi, the French captain here, will get us back underway with the goal line dropout from the northern end of the ground. France, of course, the newly crowned European Nations Cup champions after demolishing the Welsh. And, of course, John Mooney making his presence felt with the French team and French Rugby League in general.
Always been aware that it's been difficult for rugby league players in France, but came as a surprise to find out that the game of rugby league was actually abolished, or attempts were to banish the game in France some years ago.
Certainly had a checkered history, as we see now. France being tested in defence. Brent Webb from dummy half. He offloads. Solomona will take some stopping. Beats one. Not quite, though. France working overtime. Solomona, he reaches out and had the ball stripped. 6 more coming up here for the Kiwis, and Solomona, the makeshift 5'8", will take the tap. He's foxing. What's he doing here? We'll go again.
So, no, now listen, take the penalty and stop messing about.
Messing about, all right. Now he takes the tap. He looks for the barge over. Solomona is shut down. Took some numbers, though. Motu Tony, the dummy half. Here's a penalty against Solomona. Well, Carl Kirkpatrick, he's had a gutful.
I think he just doesn't like Dave Solomona. Dave was entitled to take the ball back and play it, but he's obviously given him a bit of a
Come on,
spray.
Peter. There was some brinkmanship in the lead up to that. He was asked to bring the ball back. He was foxing around for a month of Sundays. And really, Brian McLennan...
And there was a little foxhole being created around that. Look where the markers are standing. Kirkpatrick, get it on.
Carl Kirkpatrick had every reason to penalise Solomona. He was marking around and really pushing the envelope, and he pays the price. France out of trouble. They're up towards halfway here, 5 short of the midway stripe or thereabouts, as we see Ferriol go in reverse, if you like, swamped by the Kiwi defence. Crowd starting to really get behind the French team. This is probably a scoreline that many of the people in the stadium this morning that they would not have expected this. Certainly the New Zealand Rugby League public would be perplexed at this point in time too, as we see Pritchard come up with the intercept, just what the doctor ordered.
A lazy offload there. There was nothing doing. Certainly wasn't entitled to be passed to anybody. It's a little things there in the French game. They're in good field position to go on, get to the kick, get down the other end. They now find themselves defending. Stacey Jones.
Jones turns it back on the inside, and hitting it up now for the Kiwis is Tony Puliatua. And look at this, Webb. Round and round the mulberry bush we go.
Well,
he takes the tackle.
You get away with that sort of stuff.
Stacey Jones, difficult pass. Play on's the call. Loatiti, now Fatawira, down the sideline. Fatawira has been called back here. And it's a penalty to France.
You stick up for Kirkpatrick this time.
Well, we watched this replay, and he's penalised Clinton Torpey for obstruction. Well, what's he expected to do? Disappear like Peter Pan? Fair dinkum, that is mind-boggling. And
Fly, Clinton, fly.
Dear oh dear, we've seen some puzzling decisions in the course of this game, against both sides for that matter. France, they dodge another bullet. Just when we thought something might have been building there for the Kiwis. Clinton Torpey, the man at fault, at least in the eyes of the referee, and a stinging tackle there from Pritchard, copping it big time, was Fallu. Rinaldi now going out wide, and chiming in from fullback is Innes. Just beyond his own 30-metre line, the French now find a willing worker in the form of Christophe Molly, who's really toiled hard here this morning for the French. They come the blind side, the home side, and again, the Kiwis are there to greet them. On this occasion, it was Solomona around the bootlaces. On the last, the kick has been charged down. Having to rush back now is Charles. Olivier Charles takes them on. Got rid of one, got rid of two. Good run, fine run, stocky customer. He gets the job done. France with Fekir making some good metres.
And that's where they look so impressive. They play the middle of the ruck exceptionally well, and also the inside ball. It's when they go too wide that they provide easy targets. They find themselves just shuffling it sideways. Kiwi defence find it easy to match up. But the inside ball, middle of the ruck, impressive.
Zita, wingman looking for support. He found it. It's been the feature of the French performance thus far, has been their support play. He found a man there in Ferriol, and now Rinaldi shoveling it out wide. Colonni, and again they find runners. Rescue this time is put away. Bethesni across to Rinaldi. Again the little kick. Here's the chase, and ball is loose in the end goal. And it's a penalty to the Kiwis. It was messy. It was not clear cut, but France have been pinged for offside play. Coming through was the French winger, Olivier Charles, and looking at that replay, Kirkpatrick was saying he was in front of the kicker.
Wait for the ball.
Well, Jason, you've got to be hard-pressed to find me backing Kirkpatrick right now, because it was certainly a line ball.
Well, there wasn't a lot in it, but perhaps he got a call from his touch judge. I find it difficult to believe he's a French touch judge.
Yeah, I'm struggling to find confidence in him too.
We know all about French refereeing. I can recall a story that Bob Fulton, the Rugby League Week immortal, of course, has told many times that when Australia lost back-to-back tests in France in '78, the match officials had plenty to do with it. Last time, of course, the Kangaroos did lose a test match series was, in fact, in '78 in France. As we see the Kiwis now drilling the ball towards the end goal, that's exactly where they'll find it. And Innes has some work to do. That's excellent. Smart play, intelligent play, has to be a penalty.
As soon as you touch him, he's tackled. But no.
Well, they can't claim voluntary tackle once they've put a hand on. And the hand was there. Or was it? Well, again, it probably could have gone either way. France are the beneficiaries again. Rinaldi, he's not complaining. He'll come up with the touch finder.
When you talk about history and the last time that Australia were beaten by France, it's interesting with the game up against Great Britain tomorrow morning. In the back of their minds is 27 years worth of history for the Kangaroos.
Well, as Brian McLennan did say to the Rugby League media this week, it would be very good for Rugby League to see the Kiwis, if you like, up against the Lions at Allen Road next weekend. Time will tell, of course, the big one tomorrow. Make sure you join us for that one from the KC Stadium in Hull. Rugby League heartland in the north of England. They'll be packed to the rafters for that one as we see France now with a step provided by Cologny, the number 14, coming off the bench. Moni working his bench players quite nicely in this one. And look at this. More possession, more penalties for France.
You're interfering. Sort yourself out, Sol. Sort yourself out.
Solomon has got problems, at least in the eyes of Carl Kirkpatrick. He's the man who counts.
I'm shouting at you. I'm talking to you.
You can hear the dialogue continuing through our effects mic. This is not a good look here for New Zealand. So the Kiwis camped on their own goal line. Molly takes them on, the lock forward. 6 metres out, right in front of the sticks here. Southern end of the ground. Hard and straight France now launching themselves at the goal line. On this occasion, it was Grescu. Cologny shovels it out. Rinaldi, the playmaker again, looking for runners. Innes now, the custodian. He gets involved. Molly looking for a hole. Takes the tackle. 4 metres out. The French, they'd love a 4-pointer right here, right now. Ferriol goes to ground. Here comes the last for the tricolours. Rinaldi, again, the little kick. Problems at the back for the Kiwis. They'll get 6 more. Jones had to force it in the in goal.
The next best result, and again, Rinaldi at the end of that one finding a nice touch. His kicking game's been outstanding. They got penalised just moments before, but again, just enough weight behind it to force the dropout and some more possession to favour the French. And just looking at the clock, coming in with the last quarter of the game, the French are still well poised to be a real threat and find a major upset as again they hit it up.
Big body contact. Kidwell, he lined up Grescu, but the latter got away and won the battle on that occasion.
There's no doubting the toughness of the French. They like to play physical, and again they find it the outside.
Looking for the try out wide. France in the corner. Can you believe it? Olivier Charles has dotted down for France. And this game is alive and kicking.
Well, it started with Grescu. He took it up, he hit Kidwell, he bounced off, and he found some more energy in his legs. But then he came up with the quick play of the ball. But watch the hands as they shift it left. On the back of Ferriol, he does exceptionally well to be able to goose, in fact, and then just some lovely touches to be able to offload and find Charles. He's been impressive. Reminds me very much of Avila Maltier with the dreadlocks and the physical size there of the wingman. Good try.
Big rap, that one. I'm sure the man on screen won't mind the rap. The comparison is probably fair enough in the eyes of many critics. Why wouldn't the flags be flying in Toulouse?
Come to look at it, his nose is actually a little bit sharper than Vila's, but the dreadlocks, the complexion, all the same.
So, for the second time, in fact, third time in this match, I beg your pardon, the scores are tied, and we have an injured player here, and a Kiwi at that, getting some attention from the New Zealand medical staff.
But what about Grescu and his hit up? He opened the second half when he took on, I think it was the likes of Kidwell. He hit him in the collision.
Big collision at that, Peter.
And he's continued with it. Jake Webster feeling a little worse for wear.
Webster getting the call up tonight, or this morning if you like, in the absence of Manu Vatuvei, who is out injured. Of course, Nigel Vunganar suspended as well.
But Grescu, big physical charge.
And there is the body contact. And in the past, we've seen the French forwards, well, play like powder puffs.
Well,
not this morning, though.
I was not expecting you to say that because they've always been tough. They've always been physical. Perhaps not having 80 minutes in the game.
Yeah, I was going to say, for 20 minutes, that is, Peter.
They come and they give it everything that they've got, and you can expect the most unexpected when you're in any encounter up against the French. Very unorthodox, but Greece gave theirs done exceptionally well.
Colony from the sideline could not convert the try scored by Olivier Charles. We are locked up, 16 apiece in Toulouse.
All they had memories of French is they'll grab whatever they can to pull you down, and unfortunately, sometimes in places that you prefer not to be touched.
Well, we won't go there. We'll watch this restart, Peter. No doubt you're a man of the world, the rugby league world. Now we know why you didn't get a start in France. Went to the UK instead, as we see play on. My goodness, what was that? Look at France making big inroads. Was that a knock-on or what? Zeta was backing up the man who made the huge run downtown. That pass was an absolute lolly. Is this a test match or what?
Watch that. You talked about the last time that Australia won up against France and the referees had something to do with it. Well, have another look and play it again and again and again. Because that was, without doubt, a knock-on.
Kirkpatrick, he's obviously ruled that the ball was pulled out, but look, I'll have to go to OPSM, or Kirkpatrick should retire right now. Anyway, New Zealand looking to turn it on. Lauatiti, Fatawira backing him up. Down the sideline goes Fatawira, and he's been stripped.
And we talk about a whole lot of fans all around the country watching this. There's as many expatriate French people here in New Zealand as well that are plugged in this morning, and right now they're going through the roof. They're enjoying this.
A little bit of a helping hand here. The touch judge should have been in good position to make the call here, to provide some advice to our friend Carl Kirkpatrick. And
yeah, right.
well, he was going for it. There's no doubt about it. Ennis was in there hunting for the pill. And Stacey Jones now looking to marshal the troops. Here is Clinton Torpey with that characteristic step that's become synonymous with his style as he takes on the big men. And now Fayumu down the blind side, and here's a try for New Zealand. Lauatiti, he gets across the stripe, and New Zealand, in a seesawing affair, they are back in front.
And well deserved there. Ali Lauatiti was involved in moments before coming down the left-hand flank. This time, as we've seen throughout this game, you get within a metre of the line, it's awfully difficult. They had numbers there, the French, but ineffectual. The first one falls off Ennis, then they come in again to have another crack at him. But Ali just too big, too strong. That has been their undoing. A metre off the line, just not having enough accuracy in their technique to be able to perfect a tackle that's going to stop the player going forward.
Ali Lauatiti, of course, a controversial departure from the Warriors. And a departure that a lot of the fans, the die-hard fans, still talk about to this day. Certainly found a home at Headingley in the north of England. Done some great things for Leeds in 2005 as we see Jones hook this one to the left.
You talk about great things in 2005, the English game, the Super League Team of the Year, Ali Lauatiti.
For the second year running. New Zealand 20, France 16. And you can hear the French crowd again.
Well, the bizarre nature about this game is whether or not the clock is going to become your worst enemy, particularly for the Kiwis, because every time they get down that end, they seem to be able to score. They just seem to have a hard time of getting down the other end, but when they do get there, they come up with them. But if you time it wrong, the clock goes, boom.
Keep the talk up, keep the talk up.
Rinaldi, who was man of the match in the European Cup final, sends us into the next chapter. And again, big body contact here. David Kidwell on the receiving end for the Kiwis, getting play out to his own 20-metre line. Here is Ruben Wiki, the record-breaking Kiwi captain.
And the discussion at the moment with the upcoming Kiwi Awards night, early December, is about Player of the Year. And two players there just been mentioned, David Kidwell, Ruben Wiki. They've got to be in the frame.
And now hitting it up for the NZers, Louis Anderson. Crossed the halfway, but only just. Jones back on the inside, working with his old teammate at the Warriors, Ali Lauatiti. Of course, they'll be rivals next year in the UK Super League, when we see the likes of Leeds head down to the south of France. That kick going touch in goal, so France will come back for the tap restart.
And what we just saw in that play there by Stacey is perhaps what the Kiwis are not achieving right now is getting some good momentum through their forward pack, allowing Stacey the opportunity to find a running game. So far, his introduction into it, his impact has been on the back of his boot, and perhaps just looking to pass to give that direction. For him to find a running game, they've got to get some momentum in their pack.
Looking for momentum now, France, as they go out wide and probing for holes. As we come up towards the 1 hour mark, and still, this game is there for the taking. Kiwis leading by 4. It was 16-12 to New Zealand at the split. Clearing kick now being provided by Koloni, and he will find touch. 40-20 play has been attempted, and they've called it. What a play, possibly the play of the match. This giving France a golden opportunity as we watch the replay. Brent Webb believes he's kept the ball in play, but the touch judge seemingly has a different view.
Well, if he left the field and was in the air when he knocked it back in, you'll suggest that it's out.
Again, another controversial call in this one.
But it'll be a play of the match if the French come up with a 4-pointer, because they're poised to do exceptionally well on the back of it.
France looking for that 4-pointer now, and they will get it. Carrasco, he gets a double, and the French come back once more. They are not going anywhere. The second row forward gets a double.
He's a big lad as this ruck-in, but where he does well, and what we've mentioned earlier on, is the inside ball, keeping it close to the ruck. They have tested the Kiwi defence, and on that occasion it was Brent Webb up against a monster of a player in the back row. Raheem just hits the line well, takes it on, and physically strong enough to be able to get rid of Webby in the tackle and find the ball and the 4-pointer. There's certainly no doubt in the confidence of this French side to play inside the 2 front rows, combining exceptionally well there. The likes of Ferriol, he's been good. That time he found an offload in his game, put it on the inside. But you go back to that 40-20, and you talk about it being the play of the game, of the match. And the end result just reinforces just how special that play was.
Koloni now will look to put France back in front. He lines it up, and he has nailed it. Big kick. The French, why wouldn't they be cheering in the stands in Toulouse? France with a converted try, and you reckon he's not happy about it. The Tricolours leading the Kiwis here, 22-20. As we get back underway, and the Kiwis quickly getting on with the job, again, it is game on.
Well, at one stage I was looking forward to seeing Jean-Christophe this morning at Maison. Right now, the scoreline of a 2 deficit against the Kiwis, I might call in sick.
And here's another penalty to France, and a lecture to boot. Let us listen in, because Kirkpatrick's patience is being tested.
Which I've let go because they're in the thing. He had his hand all over his face. He was deliberately grappling round the head. Deliberately. I want to stop that.
Bronson Harrison, the debutant, getting an earful in the presence there of his captain. And the penalty as a result goes to France.
Right throughout this game, we've been littered with calls by Kirkpatrick, but one could only say that he's certainly not up to scratch in terms of calling an international game of rugby league. This has made it a difficult encounter for both these sides. Let's make that quite clear, that the calls are not only just against the Kiwis, but also against the French.
Now some roughhouse tactics from David Solomona, and he is in big trouble here.
Well, no, it's Bronson Harrison again.
Well,
Not you, mate, no.
2 of them have been called
This one.
over, plus the captain.
This is the second penalty for foul play.
What did I do to the
Second
tackle?
one against this player. Never mind dominant tackle. He's throwing punches.
I do.
Sort your team out, mate. It's not my fault. Sort your team
I
out.
tell you, I didn't punch him at all. At all.
You went like that.
Yeah, it was a funny punch.
Yeah, again, I'd say, but often is the case in that part of the world that when personalities start to clash, and it's very obvious that David Solomon and Ian Kirkpatrick,
Carl that is.
Kirkpatrick, apologies to the great rugby great Ian Kirkpatrick, but this guy's got it in for someone.
Well, he's become his bunny.
Well, the punch certainly reflected that.
Here come France. A try here would really put the cat amongst the pigeons. 8 metres out. Ronaldo calling the shots. Innes across to the centre 3/4. Sadou has nowhere to go. He runs out of real estate. Paul Fatuira on the job for New Zealand.
And you were half expecting Kirkpatrick to come up with a penalty there.
Our pictures this morning courtesy of the French broadcaster Canal Bleu. And in fact, the 2 tries to the second rower that we've credited Carrasco, I believe, is actually Sebastien Regun.
Yeah, I can see all that fifth-form French really coming to the fore now, Jason. You're outstanding.
Thank you, Pepe. Peter Rowe Party alongside myself this morning for this one, and it's France by 2. 15 to go, and I'll give you the tip, Peter. No one in Toulouse is going anywhere.
Well, if nothing else, they're all still arriving to catch the end of a match that could very well find something special. But right now, what's important is that Kiwis get a penalty, a piggyback out.
Waving their arms and shouting, none of this is my fault. Look at yourselves.
Talk about washing your hands.
No, we're now falling into the trap where it's starting to become a little bit more emotional, a little bit more personal.
Well, from what we've seen here this morning, Peter, there seems to be some history between Carl Kirkpatrick and possibly David Solomona and maybe 1 or 2 others. Anyway, the Kiwis have got possession. Wiki looking to change things here for New Zealand. His team 2 points in arrears. There's still plenty of time. Fayumu with a dangerous step. Look at this. Lovely stuff from the number 9, and Harpy now making some inroads.
Wonderful feat, David Fayumu.
Fayumu at first receiver with the dummy. Takes them on. There's the offload. Paliasina has scored 1 try. Looking for the double. He is shut down. Off to Wigan. 2006, as we see, Fayumu. He goes for a dart from dummy half. Here comes the last for the NZers. Jones at first receiver. Into the in goal. Too much on that. France. They be loving that call.
They'll be loving the fact that it has gone dead. The Kiwis would have wanted a repeat set. They'd marched up the field on the back of David Fayumu. He touched it 3 times. 3 times they were able to go forward with some good metres under their belt. But that first play where he fouled Shontaine Harpy, some good feet with a great offload. Now it's important that they force the error, get the ball back and find themselves across the line with a 4-pointer.
Fakir on that hit up, and now some backup provided by Jerome Guisset. He goes to ground. Solomona in defence for New Zealand. Ronaldo and picking them off.
They're starting to loosen up now with that European flair, aren't they?
Well, the Kiwis, they need to loosen up because the clock is ticking away here, Peter, and they're at the wrong end of the park. Crossing halfway, the French now, and this is Fakir, who's been quite impressive since coming off the bench.
And there could have been a pass in that. They had the numbers on the outside. On their left-hand side, they go to Ronaldo.
Could have been a penalty there for some interference as France go wide once more. There's the kick provided off the boot of Hermé. And it'll be a turnover. John Money, the former Warriors coach, looking on with his assistant. Not played out as the call, so the Kiwis come away with possession here. Harpy, he goes for a sortie, 8 metres short of halfway.
And his assistant, one of the best 5'8" in the game there, and Dumas, the former coach, I think, of the French side as well.
Bronson Harrison struggling for a play the ball here. He pleads with Kirkpatrick. Nothing forthcoming. Paliasina looking to punch a hole. Lovely tackle around the bootlaces provided by Fakir. Jones running the ball. And his back slammed and they forced the mistake. That's a knock on. Should be play on. But Kirkpatrick is whistle happy here this morning.
And probably the one player that Stacey wouldn't have wanted to find tackling him, the biggest on the field in Carrasco. He's been outstanding in the running department and come up with a couple of big hits as well. On that occasion, he just finds Stacey an easy meet.
Tight heads, boys, tight heads.
The put in here from Rinaldi. And Sedou goes to ground for France.
Wait.
France
There, boys.
leading by 2. And you can look at their lineup here tonight and how they've made changes here as we look for a mistake, if you like, from the Kiwis, looking to force the mistake, that is, from France. France having lost Laurent Freycinet, their 5'8", for much of this game, Peter, and hence the reshuffle, but they have modified their game to suit.
Well, the style of their game has been on the back of Rinaldi, and he's done exceptionally well right throughout for 70-odd minutes, along with the likes of Berthesen in the acting half. They've controlled the game, bringing players on at will. So the loss of their number 6, they haven't missed a beat.
The 7 and 9 have been great. It is the former here who provides the kick, and Harpy is back there to retrieve the football for the Kiwis. Plenty of work to do. He goes to ground. 25 out from his own line. Hitting it up now for New Zealand is Paliasina. And he flung it out the back door. That's come off the shins of Motu Tony, and fair enough, it is play on.
And perhaps a play that reinforces the possible mindset that exists between the two sides at the moment. One starting to look at the clock, 11 minutes to go. Now 10. The French recognising they've got a 2-point lead. They just want to get up, play good territory, and if an error comes, convert it into points. The Kiwis, on the other hand, do they start to chase?
Jones linking up with Webb. Here he goes, twinkle toes himself. He flicks it across to Harpy. In fact, I beg your pardon, it's Bronson Harrison who's playing rather wide, in fact too wide. He has to force the pass. The French have played at it. Play on's the call. Here goes Charles. It's a foot race. Stacks on the mill. France can't get it. Jones is back there to mop up the little general. Take a bow.
Well, how unlucky for Charles if he was able to regather on that last one. Ruben Wiki just managing to get there, showing the pace of the former years of the former centre, getting there, stopping, denying Charles. But if he had regathered that, because he had shown great control, soccer being one of the biggest games over there in France, no doubting he does possess some of the skills of the round ball game.
And you see the defence on Wiki there. Even with 9 to go, the French, they are rock solid in Toulouse. Jones goes across to Louis Anderson. Loatiti, and now attacking is Torpy. Here's a support player in Louis Anderson. Here's a try, and the Kiwis, they are back in front now.
And you talk about special plays in the game, and you go back to the defensive efforts, the front row forward, the captain to scramble to get back and put it out of play. Allowed the Kiwis the opportunity to come back down this field, down this end of the field, and find Louis Anderson in support.
Louis Anderson, former junior Kiwi captain, capitalising on that burst by Clinton Torpy. Of course, is no stranger himself to scoring tries in Test football.
And how cruel, Rinaldi being one of the French best, failing to effect the tackle on Clinton Torpy, who finds the offload. Rinaldi also the player that unfortunately couldn't stop Ifeaki Paliasina up the other end and meet her off.
Stacey Jones with a sitter. He makes no mistake, the number 7, in what could well be his swan song in the black jumper. The seesawing continues. There is still time for France. New Zealand have the upper hand at the moment. They lead 26-22.
And how quick it changes. Only moments ago we're talking about the French looking to just play territory. They now start to play, the clock in a sense of let's go.
Kiwis, of course, coming into this one on the back of their 38-12 drubbing by the Lions last weekend. And not too much to write home about on the back of this performance either. Paliasina now, straight away, looking to make sure that he's going to leave a few battered and bruised Frenchmen here this morning. Pulatua now, looking to bust them. Good metres for the Kiwis.
Yeah, starting to grab around the jerseys. So important that their technique continues to take out the sting and keep them down this end, because there's no doubt the Kiwis up the other end can put points on them. Restrict their yardage, restrict their progress.
Out of dummy half now. Fayumu, look at that. Great ball, super ball. Webb's backing up, and so too is the little general. And that should ice the win here for the Kiwis this morning over a very gallant French side. Stacey Jones with the try. Back-to-back tries for New Zealand. That should put the French away finally in this one.
And that's the killer when you're doing back-to-back. But David Fayumu, his involvement's been outstanding coming out of the acting half there. Such wonderful feet to be able to take, just for that moment, take that attention away from the receiver, look at him, and then look to offload. Webb in support, and Stacey Jones.
Stacey Jones, of course, you turn back the clock, Ropo. 1995 against Tonga. His first cap. What a wonderful career in Test Rugby League for that little fella.
And you know when things are unfolding, when you have options on either side. It could have gone in on the inside. Ali Lautiti in support, Stacey Jones on the outside. And it is great that he is able to come up with it.
Speaking of Jones, he converts his own try. We've got a 10-point buffer, the biggest lead in the game thus far. It's the Kiwis, 32, France, 22. 5.5 minutes to go. Stand by for the shallow restart here from the French.
5 minutes.
They need 2 tries in the dying stages here to pull this out of the fire. Let's see if they get the bounce of the ball. Who's going high? Nobody. France have got it.
And France will be absolutely motivated to get down the other end, not allow the last 5 minutes to deteriorate in the scoreline, which perhaps does not reflect the nature of this game of which they have contributed and led for so much.
Far from it, in fact, Peter, as we see Gissé, the battering ram, looking to smash a couple of Kiwis as he takes it towards the sticks. Freycinou, who's back on the park. France now looking for that try in the corner. Felou, he goes to ground. 5 metres out. Did he lose the ball? Was there a helping hand? Play-on's the call. It had to be one or the other. I can't believe that either.
All we know so far after 75 minutes of footy is go for the unexpected.
France go wide. Rinaldi back on the inside. Ragun, he goes to ground. He scored a couple of tries in what has been a sterling performance from the back row forward. Smothered and shut down by Loatiti. Collini across to Fakir. He's a big unit, isn't he? He's tried his heart out this morning. He got the pass away. Play-on's the call. Collini, did he get it down? No. The Kiwis are back up the park. What happened there?
There was an offload there that you weren't expecting, and perhaps he wasn't entitled to pass as well, but he stole it. And they're just inches from the line. Unfortunately, the defence has got to turn them around. But good reaction, Ifeki Palisini, to get him back up. And possibly a penalty coming their way.
Well, this is what happened. And, well, Ruben Wiki, he was saying no try, knock on. But Kirkpatrick, seemingly, his versions of knock-ons are very different to many of us. He said play on. If it was a knock-on, of course, over the goal line, it should have been a... Well, in fact, it was just short. Just short, so maybe fair enough. So France, they went perilously close. And now Paliacina going straight up the middle. What a pass! What a pass for Brent Webb. How did he squeeze that? Brent Webb, the recipient, he grabs 4 points, but put it down to Mr. Effective.
Well, Mr. Effective, he busted one, and there was a sense that there was no way he was going to throw a sidestep in, let alone was he going to look to pass, but something special. Benji can do it, I can do it. Brent Webb, the recipient.
The one-time Hibiscus Coast Raider, a man that Brian McLennan had a lot to do with, Peter, in his formative years before he joined the Warriors on a full-time contract. The man who loved to eat KFC. Well, he can have a chicken burger at full-time because the Kiwis, they're leading, they're coasting at 38-22.
And why is it that every time you mention KFC, you've got to punch me? Why is that, Jason? You want some of mine?
Looking forward to breakfast.
Yeah, Louis Anderson's just looking for a break. 3 minutes to go.
Another shallow restart from the French. Play-on's the call. And Pulatua will provide a settler. In fact, he's going to fend a couple away. He takes on the French captain, Rinaldi, and he gets some help there from Fakir to put him down on the 40-metre line. Solomona shifts it across to Torpy. Torpy testing the defence. 3 in the tackle. He crosses halfway. Less than 2 to go here, folks. And you look at that scoreboard, 38 plays 22. And you think this has been a reasonably comfortable win for the Kiwis, but far from it as we see Stacey Jones go to Webb. Webb, the most recent of the try scorers. Harrison on debut, flicking it across to Webb. Webb looking for a hole. Webb beats one. Now he goes to Green.
When you reflect back on this game, there's a sense of perhaps the Kiwis doing just what they needed to do to get the win. The French have been absolutely outstanding for most of this game. And then the guy in the middle, well, he's going to cop plenty.
Yeah, it was a little knock on there. Initially not, but then there was a fumble. And we will have a scrum here. Inside the final 60 seconds, Kiwis have scored the last 3 tries to put the French out of business tonight.
Hey, your man's injured, all right.
But it has been a very, very brave performance by the French. Here's the knock on just there, I think it was. Well, in fact, Fayumu may not have actually got a hand on it. Kirkpatrick made the call. There was plenty of bodies in his way. It doesn't really matter. This scrum will form with 45 seconds to go. And the contest, of course, is well and truly over.
It's been a great contest, and the way that the French have responded on the back of their drubbing by the Australians, it just gives them a huge amount of heart with their introduction into the Super League with the UTC Catalan side next year. So hopefully, as everybody, all those in the media are talking up the rise of French Rugby League, what we're seeing so far this morning, we're on the right path, and perhaps with the likes of John Money assisting where possible, that will continue to develop back to the way it used to be with the French.
Something to build for, of course, this morning for the French, with an eye on the World Cup in 2008. Freycinet still looking for support. Here come the French once more. How pretty is this? They're putting up prayers left, right and centre. Passes coming out in all directions. But there goes the full-time siren in Toulouse. And this one-off test match comes to an end as the players swap jerseys. Kiwis, they led 16-12 at half-time, and right now they can breathe a huge sigh of relief. The French very gallant this morning, but the Kiwis, they get the victory. They win this one against France, 38 points to 22. We'll have more with Peter and Stephen on the other side of this.
38-22, and the Kiwis have got home against the French. The French showing very strong resistance, you might say, today in Toulouse. But I tell you what, Peter, Brian McLennan will have certainly worrying and plenty of frown lines after that one. If they are to make the Tri-Nations final, there's a lot more work to do. I don't know where they've gone from that win in Sydney to this win in Toulouse, because there's something's gone on in between.
Well, I think what's gone on between is a long time on the road. You know, when 6 weeks away, and then all of a sudden you start having 3 meals a day, and they're well.
Are we going to go back over that?
No.
Not having our own pillow on this one?
No. But I think what we've got in this game here is understanding the difficulty that was brought to it as well. In particular, the man in the middle would have made it very, very difficult to get some sort of flow into the game. It was a very stop-start affair. Often when you're in a position to get some momentum, it would be taken away from you. It's a game also where you know you're going to win. It's just a matter of when and how much you're going to win by. That also, so it takes a lot.
That also sort of smacks a little bit of an arrogant approach, because does it not?
No, but it happens. Mm-hmm. It happens, and I think up against the French, and I don't want in any way to detract from the French performance, because I thought when you look back over 80 minutes of football, there was more contributed to that game by individuals within that French team than everybody else. And particularly, I think their halfback Rinaldi, some of their back rows, their front forwards.
Fresco, that big unit
mate,
at the front.
They were good. They were good, but it was a game, unfortunately, that we didn't get what we wanted. Because if there is a chance and possibility that they're going to make this final, what we wanted to see this morning was a dress rehearsal. We wanted to see amends for what happened 7 days ago against Great Britain. You wanted a side that was clinical, that had everything down pat, was going to drill it right from the start. We didn't get that. We didn't get it.
You got one half of the equation. You got one half of the equation, the fact that you got the win. So I suppose that has addressed what happened against the Lions a week ago. Let's have a look at the results from this whole Tri-Nations so far, and this friendly, of course, this morning from the Stade Albert Rollin. Of course, it all started back at Telstra, didn't it, with that wonderful win against Australia, and then they just let it go just before half-time, just after half-time at Ericsson Stadium. The win against the Palms at Loftus Road, then the English win as well, and that certainly maybe started to show things were starting a little bit shaky. Then they get punted by the Palms at Gulf Farm, and then they pick it up today. So there is a lot of work to do.
There's a huge amount of work to do, and when you go back to the opening 2 games in this tournament where they excelled and played, beyond what many considered that they had a chance of winning, particularly game 1, it was all about beat the bully. That was their theme and going into that one. The second one was about welcome to the jungle. When you say what's gone missing, maybe it's not a continuation of that sense of urgency and the importance of what's going.
Maybe it's a little bit more mongrel. I mean, we always talk about this mongrel line, but I'm beginning to wonder whether I'll accept only partly the tour thing. But if you're going to be a winning team, you win every time you go there, and you show that mongrel every time you go out.
No argument whatsoever. If they do not win or get into the grand final, then game 1 and game 2, you could start to say they've undone all the good work that has taken place so far. The last 2 matches, disappointing.
Question still remains, will Stacey Jones, if they make the final, be back? Rochelle, of course, awaiting a due November 24 with the birth of number 3, little boy, we're told as well. So that's pretty exciting for little Stacey running around. But let us hear from the man himself, who made yet another return to the black and white.
Congratulations for your team tonight. What do you think about the French performance tonight?
Very well. Très bien. They played very well.
Les Français ont très bien joué.
For their win today. But the French,
ils ont très bien joué aujourd'hui.
Well done.
Et ils ont vraiment effectué une très belle rencontre.
Do you think the French side has improved since last year?
I didn't play last year. I played them a couple of years ago. Definitely improved.
Est-ce que les Français ont évolué depuis l'année dernière? Oui. Je crois sincèrement qu'avec l'arrivée de John Mooney, les Français ont élevé leur niveau de jeu. Et avec l'entrée de l'équipe des Catalans en Super League, nous allons jouer à des matchs de très haut niveau et ça me tarde.
Thank you for your mobility, Stacey. Thank you. Thanks a lot.
You're also hearing the translator on there, of course, English to French. So, and Stacey, of course, is taking French lessons. Of course, the très bien thrown out, so he's starting to feel comfortable about new surroundings as well.
Well, it's an environment that he'll enjoy. It will certainly remove him from the spotlight, an opportunity, I think, for the family to just enjoy a little bit of what being in international football and the opportunity to travel the world, and for his children's family to enjoy a different lifestyle. They'll have a great time over there.
It'd be nice. I must say, and I'm sure Rochelle probably doesn't agree with us. It would like, if they make the final, it would be nice to see Stacey play the final, and that would be, if he's going to call it quits after that, that would be a nice way to go, and something that...
Well, it'd be fitting, I guess, with all, and Stacey would not be excluded, that you would hate to come to an end with an if and a but or what if, and if they were to make the final, you'd want to be part of it, particularly if you look back and if all went well, that they ended up winning and you weren't part of it, yet you'd contributed so much to being there. What we shouldn't lose sight of in this game this morning is they got the result.
Yep. One half of the equation
got
you were
the result,
asking for.
And we turn around and say, yeah, we came into this game expecting, wanting this, wanting an improvement in the reform. They got the win.
Oh, they got the win indeed, but it's not the win that, and the way that it was won, it was not probably what people wanted to see. But the fact of the matter is, France actually performed and gave the international game a lot more credibility today. I think it is, more importantly, because they have been the whipping boys for such a long time, and they have such a strong history in the game. Finally, going, well, hang on a minute, we are just as good, maybe not now, but we're getting there.
They're getting there, and everything about the international game at the moment, you've got to suggest is in good health. Here we are talking about a grand final that, hey, should Great Britain beat Australia, and if they beat them by more than 2, and something about 9 points in there as well, the permutations, the scenarios that can unfold, so different from what we had 3-4 years ago, where it was clear-cut, Australia is playing who? Now, even the bookies have got it all wrong. You go back 4 weeks ago, New Zealand was paying something like $5 to be in the final and to win it. Great Britain were paying something like $100.
With respect, Peter, I cannot see Great Britain beating Australia tomorrow. Australia are not number 1.
Well, you be the TAB as well and give me a $5.
No, I'll be blunt with you. I cannot see Great Britain beating Australia tomorrow. They are down on power. They have lost some key players.
They've been down on power right from the outset, Stephen. Without Sculthorpe, without the likes of Sean Long, 2 of the best running around the game over there. They've been down on power right from the beginning. This is a good football side.
I will happily take your money on that one.
I'll expect the call.
Let us just remind you, all roads lead to Ellen Road, the final on Sunday, November the 27th on Sky Sport 1 at 7:10. And remember, of course, we have the New Zealand Rugby League annual awards from Sky City this year on Sky Sport 1 from 8. Who will be the Rugby League Player of the Year, the Rookie of the Year? There is also a Junior of the Year category as well. That is a new category that has launched itself into the fray. So that's the New Zealand Rugby League Gala Awards dinner on Friday the 2nd of December. Peter and I will bring that to you live, and that will be something to see. Ruben Wiki, player, as you have mentioned, David Kidwell, a lot of players on this tour have excelled. We shall see what happens.
The rookie is the one that's going to create a huge amount of interest, because you got the likes of Bronson Harrison making his debut today. You got Jake Webster as well. Plenty
All
of
right, we shall see what happens. Today, the Kiwis get the money. They get it just 38-22. And now, don't forget, tomorrow, 7:10, Aussie, Great Britain.